And we're honored to have with us Councillor Hossam Allam, international law expert, to read with us this important headline concerning the Palestinian recognition. Councillor Allam, as His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is always affirming Egypt's stance vis-à-vis safeguarding the Palestinian rights and also alleviating the humanitarian situation in Gaza. How do you see the scenarios, like right after what has happened of the European recognition of the State of Palestine?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. And I do think that to frame our discussion tonight and to make sure that our respected audience and viewers from across the globe are following with us and they are on the same page with us, allow me to briefly outline some key concepts and notions from public international law. To start with, public international law is essentially the body of rules that governs relations between states and increasingly other international actors. And what I mean here by other international actors, mainly international organizations such as the United Nations as well as the Arab League. So public international law regulates issues ranging from the use of force and human rights to trade, the environment, and of course statehood and recognition. Now, when we speak about a state, international law has provided us with a clear benchmark, and that's mainly through the Montevideo Convention of 1933.
Yes.
According to this widely accepted standard, a state must possess four basic elements. Number one, a defined territory, i.e. land with internationally recognizable boundaries, even if dispute exists.
Yes.
Number two, a permanent population. That's a community of people who live there on an ongoing basis. Number three, a government, an authority that exercises effective control over the territory and a population. Number four, and the final one here, that's the capacity to enter into relations with other states. In other words, international legal personality and the ability to engage diplomatically. With these conditions, and when they are met, an entity qualifies as a state in the legal sense. Thus, recognition, however, adds another important layer. As in international law, recognition is the formal acknowledgement by other states that an entity qualifies as a state and should be treated as such. Therefore, recognition per se does not create statehood. Statehood flows from the facts on the ground, but recognition is highly significant because it confirms legitimacy, enables diplomatic relations, and facilitates participation in the international organizations on the global stage. This is why the recent wave of European recognitions of the State of Palestine matters. It does not, however, by itself end the occupation or guarantee sovereignty, but it strengthens, of course, Palestine's legal and political standing internationally, and adds definitely momentum towards a two-state solution, and that's why, in short, public international law provides the framework. The elements of statehood give us the criteria, and the recognition transforms political symbolism into a stepping stone towards legal and diplomatic reality.
Right.
So with that being said, we clearly can now have a better enlightened perspective to address your very important first question in this regard. And definitely Egypt has always been playing a pioneering role regionally and globally in support of a viable solution that would ensure peace and security in the region.
Definitely. What sort of legal action, in your opinion, should be taken right now? We have more than one, of course, European country has affirmed the recognition of the state of Palestine, among them the UK. We've seen also the French President Macron earlier, Portugal, Belgium and more. What sort of legal action could be undertaken in order to safeguard this sense of recognition so that it won't be only a moral recognition?
Yeah, in order to move beyond this symbolism, there needs to be practical commitments undertaken in order to really bring about a sovereign, fully functioning Palestinian state. So there needs definitely the need for the rulings and the advisory opinions of the concerned international legal and judiciary bodies to come into effect and to be implemented. So a very important issue should be the dismantlement of the occupation and the illegal settlements. There needs to be a clear accountability for all the violations of human rights and for justice to take its effective course. All sincere concerned partners regionally and globally need to start taking practical steps, such as paving the way and opening the way for economic and a more diplomatic relation with the Palestinian authorities. Another important thing is ensuring that the Palestinian people have the access to all what is needed to ensure that their basic human rights are needed, and this is what Egypt has always been playing in its role as a lifeline support for the Gaza Strip, ensuring that through the Gaza crossing all aid trucks and all humanitarian aid has the accessibility and has the ability to reach those who are in desperate need.
Yes, we've seen Israel actually reiterating with more raids and more bombardment
and more violations of international humanitarian law
and more arrests and more violence.
And not only in Gaza but also in the West Bank.
Right, exactly. How can we let the situation be altered? How can this, of course it affects the humanitarian situation in Gaza, but what legal procedures would be taken after this sense of recognition that we have seen worldwide in order to stop this sense of violence?
Yeah, this reality, as a matter of fact, shows and reflects the gap between this symbolic, important, of course, recognition and the sad reality on the ground. This is why Egypt has been clear on emphasizing the importance of all global actors to live up to their responsibilities and to act really legally and abide by the Charter of the United Nations when it comes to the protection and the observance and the maintenance of peace and security. And this is why we clearly see the role of the United States is one that is really there, and this is why there is this need for a very important global actor like the US to live up to its responsibility and exercise and leverage its role in providing and putting the necessary pressure on making sure that there is really a ceasefire and ensuring that no further violations of international law are committed by the extremist current Israeli government, like the unspeakable violation that we have seen in the violation of the sovereignty of a very member of the Arab League, and that's the state of Qatar, and Egypt has clearly denounced this as a totally unacceptable act, and the clear messages that came from the Egyptian presidency in the summit that was held in Doha is a very clear stance and position in this regard. So my point is, Egypt has always made it clear that it stands ready to cooperate and to act in good faith with all the sincere and concerned parties, both regionally and globally, in order to ensure that the way is paved for the creation of a viable, fully functioning Palestinian states in light of the global consensus of a two-state solution.
Yes, well, in face of the escalating incursions and the disruption that has been taking place, concrete steps were there. French President Macron said that if former U.S. President Trump truly seeks the Nobel Prize, the Nobel Peace Prize, as he said in his speech yesterday, so he must end the war in Gaza. And this is actually very important at the moment. How can the U.S. Actually use its leverage meantime, while we see that the atmosphere and the situation in Europe right now is encouraging the recognition of the Palestinian state? How far will the leverage of the United States on Israel lead to positive results on the way?
Yes, definitely it has a role to play, and the answer is very simple and very straightforward. So the maxims and the rulings and the principles of the Charter of the United Nations need to be put into action. They cannot just be a mere ink on the paper. It is very sad and very disappointing what we have seen recently, as we see a global consensus in order to bring about an end to all the Israeli military aggression against the civilians in both Gaza and the West Bank. And there is clearly, as all observers can see and attest to, there is this global consensus of a dire need for an immediate ceasefire. And sadly, regrettably, the only voice that went against this global consensus and voted against it was the U.S. Me personally, I know of many American citizens. They are totally sad to see this and to see that this is the stance of the current U.S. administration. So the thing is, we really need to see all the principles and all the maxims of freedom and the maxims of people's right to self-determination, for them not to be any longer just mere slogans and hot air, but we need them to be translated into reality, so that this shift when it comes to the recognition of the state of Palestine translated into practical commitments that would ensure that all concerned parties can come to the table and work closely in order to ensure a two-state solution.
Yes, President Trump's rejection of the recognition of Palestine, Trump considered this as a reward to Hamas. How do you see those statements, and how far can the West actually ally in that respect, in a unified roadmap that would follow even this sense of this moral recognition? It could be moral recognition, this is the first step, but how can we make it and translate it into action on solid grounds?
Well, Egypt in this regard has always made it clear that violence and coercive force cannot bring about peace. And this is why I do think that we really need to pause here and to take a moment to really reflect on the statement and the speech of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in the Doha summit,
Forum, yeah.
as he addressed the people in Israel. And the message was very clear that resorting to violence, committing more violations against the civilian population of Palestine, further violations of the international humanitarian law, expanding the space of conflict is of no benefit at all to the people on either sides. So this is why there needs to be more pressure from inside and from all global concerned parties to bring about accountability, to bring about an immediate end to the military violations and targeting of the civilians in Gaza, for a total access of humanitarian relief and aid and medical aid, to have full access to the Gaza Strip, for an immediate end to all the expanding of these illegal settlements in the West Bank and beyond, and also for the violations of international law that aim to expand the geography of the conflict in the Middle East. If we see this, then we will be able to see outcomes and results that would really bring about a balanced array of positions, political positions in the region, and thus we can really see practical steps for the two-state solution.
Right. From the eyes of a law expert, how do you see this sense of mobilization? How can we mobilize the situation on behalf of the General Assembly and the UN Security Council in order to see this sense of growing, amidst this growing number of the states recognizing Palestine? How can we, maybe take this into account? What sort of mechanisms that could be taken that could lead to viable action on solid grounds, in your opinion?
Well, let me state clearly that what we already have seen of this surge when it comes to recognition of a Palestinian state is per se the result of relentless efforts that are made and have been for long made by Egypt and other key regional players from the Arab League and beyond, from other Islamic countries and beyond as well. So definitely this is very important. It is a light in the darkness, but it is not actually the dawn that we are really expecting or looking up to. There needs to be, as I said, practical steps that would ensure an immediate ceasefire, a total end to the violations against the Palestinian people, the dismantling of the occupation, enabling the Palestinian people to go back to their home towns and cities and lands, and for them to be able to restore normal life, and to have the ability, and this is what Egypt and other important regional powers in the Arab region and beyond have been aiming to achieve, and that's to rehabilitate and make sure that all the means necessary for a technical Palestinian authority to be able to take responsibility and to come into power and exercise its powers and authority, so that really we can see and we can witness things moving forward. Other than that, the situation will keep deteriorating, and this will be taking the whole region into a slippery slope that will definitely lead into a chaotic situation that we don't want to see.
Yes, with Netanyahu's warnings of what we see, territorial responses and more raids, what are we expecting from the European diplomacy in order to put an end to the escalation of violence?
Yeah, we have been witnessing recently more viable and more strong stances, like from Spain, for instance, this recognition coming from the UK. All this is unprecedented when it comes to the diplomacy of the European Union and the UK in this regard. And clearly, this is the result of the violations that the Palestinian people have been enduring, all these tens of thousands of innocent civilians from Palestine who lost their lives as a result of the ongoing genocide against them by Israel and headed by the current extremist government of Netanyahu. So the point is, all this definitely has led to what we are witnessing nowadays, of this global outcry for this genocide against the Palestinian people to stop and to come to an end. And this is why clearly we see all these global demonstrations at this grassroots level, because this is a clear message from the people in all these European capitals and beyond, that governments cannot just suffice with words or symbolic recognition, but further action needs to be taken, making sure that there are sanctions that are necessary to be imposed, exercising the necessary pressure, and putting into effect the role of the Security Council and the General Assembly to make sure that any illegal occupation is dismantled, that there is a clear and just accountability against all violators of the rules of international law and international human rights law, and to ensure that the Palestinian people really are able to enjoy their basic human rights and the freedoms, and first and foremost the right to self-determination.
Yes, definitely, and actually the whole world would want to see this sense of leverage also economic-wise in order to alleviate the suffering of the Palestinians. Egypt has been steadfast in supporting the Palestinian cause and supporting the humanitarian situation in Gaza. In your opinion, how can we make this sense of balance, achieving an economic leverage and containing the humanitarian situation, coming in parallel with the sense of recognition of statehood?
There needs to be this coordinated effort and a clear vision, and I can say that I say no mistake that as an observer in the statements and on all the positions exhibited by the Egyptian state, be it on the level of the Egyptian presidency or on the level of the Egyptian foreign ministry, Egypt clearly has a vision, and it is working and coordinating with all the sincere and all the concerned, both regional and global partners, to achieve this vision. It is one that has as an integral part to it an immediate ceasefire and an immediate end to all military aggressions against the Gaza Strip and beyond, ensuring that humanitarian aid and humanitarian relief is provided and have full access to the people of Palestine in the Gaza Strip and beyond, making sure that the people in Palestine can go back to their lands, can go back to their towns, can go back to their cities, so that really a re-establishment and a reconstruction plan of the Gaza Strip and beyond can take effect and come into realities, and thus to make sure that whatever is needed is possible through the mediation efforts of Egypt and other neighboring countries like Qatar, like Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates and Jordan and other concerned countries and states in the region, so that we really have an atmosphere that is law abiding, that respects and that observes the principles of the Charter of the United Nations and respects the maxims of international law. And thus we have a situation where the two-state solution can become really applicable, but it will not just be sufficient to take the podium on the United Nations and recognize symbolically the Palestinian state. This is a very important step forward, yet it needs to be followed up with further steps.
Definitely, it needs to be followed up with further steps, and this sense of recognition that we have been seeing the recent days, which is unprecedented, sure will be followed with more concrete steps on the way. In what way do you think this step of recognizing Palestine on behalf of European countries and European diplomacy would affect in a way or another the peace process, the Palestinian-Israeli negotiations, vis-a-vis borders and refugees and more?
Definitely it's a significant one. As I mentioned earlier, it is one that really sends a clear message that the people of Palestine for long have been denied their legitimate right to self-determination. So this step, it is definitely late, but definitely it is better to have it coming into a reality nowadays. So the aspiration now is that there would be further steps to ensure that the necessary pressure will be put on the current extremist Israeli government, so that it would really cease from its violations of international law and the commitments of any actor on the global stage. So all concerned parties, and first of all when it comes to the level of the Security Council, there needs to be the responsibility to really act according to the principles of international humanitarian law, especially when it comes to the protection of peace and security, and not to misuse the veto power in order to justify the further human rights violations against the Palestinian people. The fact that Egypt has always been keen and firm on being present, on leveraging its position, being uniquely qualified as a major regional player, as clearly manifested in its continuous role to mobilize, to coordinate efforts, to lead mediation efforts between all concerned parties. The clear messages coming clearly from the Egyptian presidency in this regard, for example, the irrefutable position of Egypt of stating that the forced displacement and the expulsion of the Palestinian people is totally unacceptable and totally illegal, illegitimate and immoral. This is something that we clearly see the whole world respects and appreciates. So this is why we do need to see more countries coming in support of this Egyptian position. We clearly see now further relations emerging as a result, for example, of the Doha summit and the clear messages that came from the Egyptian presidency in this regard. And it is clear that Egypt is fully aware of how critical the situation is, and it made it clear that it is ready to do all, Egypt stands ready to do all what is necessary in light of the international law to ensure that the way is paved for a viable two-state solution.
I thank you so much, Councillor Hossam Allam, international law expert, for coming live to the Daily Debate Wednesday.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. And I thank you, dear viewers, for joining us. We have discussed more on the Palestinian cause, Egypt's relentless efforts to support Gaza, and the European recognition of a Palestinian state. I'm Tagharit Hussein. Many thanks for watching.